SBC Media.
Welcome to iGaming Daily, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe. Supported by SBC Summit Latino America, bringing together the leadership teams and product specialists from retail and online operators in Latin American markets.
Discover the potential of Latin America's booming iGaming and sports betting markets at SBC Summit Latin America, the premier industry event in the region. Join SBC at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Miami from October 31st to November the 2nd. Register now at sbcevents.com.
Last week, we discussed the recent news that Lula signed the provisional measure that paves the way for regulated sports betting in Brazil. Since then, multiple parties have tried to introduce some changes, leading to even more questions around this huge market. This will be the topic for the first half of today's episode of iGaming Daily, sponsored by SBC Summit Latino America, where I'll be joined by Lucía Mouriño and Isadora Marcante. And in the second half, Isadora will be leaving us, but fear not, because Fernando Noodt is stepping in to discuss all things Chile, a region that has witnessed multiple steps taken this year. However, recent news around the National Association of Professional Football indicate that once again, Chile is moving backwards. But first off, Lou, Isadora, again, it's every week at the moment with Brazil, and it doesn't stop. What's happened since last week?
Well, a lot of things have happened, but at the same time, not many things have happened, and I think that doesn't make any sense, but it is Brazil, so it makes sense for Brazil. So we were all surprised about the increase from 16% and to 18% on GGR. So there's been a lot of operators, associations, and even different people interested in the industry asking to lower those taxes because they're actually higher than the UK's. For example, the Institute of the Brazilian Institute of Responsible Gaming, they said that they're 350 higher than the UK's, which is insane. And it's just not from operators, it's also from representatives, religious groups. I mean, we can expand on it in a little bit, but there has been over 50 requests to change things that the government introduced. So it's going to be some interesting next few months where we're going to see a lot of opinions from different people, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And Lula signed the provisional measure, but after the request from religious groups, is there actually kind of a chance to stop this from happening? Or because it's already been signed, is this new regulated industry in Brazil safe?
Well, so a provisional measure has immediate efficiency. So it's valid at the same time as it's being evaluated in the National Congress. But the evangelical bench of the Chamber of Deputies manifested themselves against the provisional measure that regulates sports betting. So while in the Congress, it needs to be approved by the Chamber and the Senate for it to be definitely transformed into law. So if the Chamber or the Senate rejects the provisional measure, or if it loses its effectiveness, the parliamentarians have to issue a legislative decree to discipline the legal effects generated during its validity. So, if with this request from religious groups in the Chamber of Deputies and in the Senate or in the National Congress as itself, can be not going to say a problem, but it can slow down the process of regulating the sports betting market in Brazil, especially because the reissue in the same legislative session of a provisional measure that has been rejected or that has lost its effectiveness due to the lapse of time is prohibited. So we need to see what their next steps will be. So to see if something's going to happen about it, what's going to happen actually.
Anything to add, Lou, or do you want me on?
I think she summed it up pretty well, yeah.
Perfect. And Isadora, we'll stick with you. Lou, you can add on if you want to afterward. Do you expect many changes to the current regulations that have been signed? And if so, will we see the final regulation and an operational market this year?
I think we can expect changes for sure. especially because after the provisional measure was published, even though the legislative is in recess until the 18th of August, more than 75 parliamentary amendments were filed. And some of the protocol amendments suggest the addition of entities for the allocation of revenues, while others suggest changes in the participation of those already described in the provisional measure. So, like I mentioned before, if it's rejected or it has lost its effectiveness due to the lapse of time, it's prohibited to do anything about it. So I hope we can see a final regulation in an operational market this year. But to be honest, I have no idea if this will happen. We just have to wait and see, because 75 parliamentary amendments is a lot of suggestions to change the current provisional measure.
I think, I mean, I don't know if this is wishful thinking, but I do believe that we will see a regulated industry this year, like fully operational, because Brazil is expecting this money to cover other stuff, like in general, stuff for like society, social security, whatever. So I think at some point they will rush it. But for example, I was reading Isa's interview with Mansour yesterday, and he said that these things will be modified in the future by ordinances. Like, they want the industry to feel comfortable with their regulation. But obviously they know that the taxes need to be, I wouldn't say high, because I don't know, they need to make sense for everyone, because they want operators to be happy about it. If you have a good relationship with them, then you can have a healthy and lengthy relationship. I don't know. Yeah, I think we'll see the industry operational this year, or at least I hope so.
Yeah, it's hard to make everyone involved happy.
Yeah,
with
for sure.
everything. Yeah, it's really hard, but at least if we can make the parties satisfied, that will be a huge step towards like a final regulation.
Yeah, they need to be heard. That's the important thing.
Definitely.
Here. So we'll see if the Ministry of Finance, for example, has conversations with the operators, because that's what they want. They want to be heard. They want to explain why they're not comfortable with this increase, because it's not just like saying it increased from 16 to 18%. As they explain, it's way over that. It's not just that, because there's taxes in Brazil that exist only there and no other market in the world. So saying that it is similar to another country, it's just like not true. So yeah, it is important for them to be heard.
Yeah, you cannot just look at the industry. You have to look at the country you are in.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. And just before we wave goodbye to you, Isadora, Lou kind of brought something up in her answer that she's just given there about a feature that you had on SBC Noticias Brazil. Do you want to just quickly go over that and explain what that is? And I'll put the link in the description below.
Sure. So we talked to José Francisco Mansur, who is the special advisor of the executive secretary of the Minister of Finance in Brazil.
That's a long title.
That's a long title. That's why I had to think of it before saying it. And it was a very nice interview, actually. It's on our SBC Noticias Brazil website, and is in our YouTube channel as well. And he explains how the provisional measure will take place, the objective, the goal of the provisional measure, and why regulating the sports betting market in Brazil is really important. So he gave us some really good insights about what's going to happen after the provisional measure was published, which is really great. So it's worth watching it.
And again, for the listeners, I will put that link in the description below. So click on it, give it a watch, and no doubt you'll thoroughly enjoy it. But as I said, sadly, Isadora, you're now leaving us. But
oh God,
you can say goodbye if you'd like.
Bye.
Thank you guys so
Isadora.
much. Goodbye.
Bye, Isadora.
Come back soon.
Bye.
And for the listeners out there, fear not, because all is not lost, as we've still got Lou. Lou stays with us.
Yay.
And we now have Fernando Noodt, who will be joining us to talk all things Chile. and it'll just be like Isadora never left us. Isn't that right, Fernando?
Yeah, I have the same sweet voice as Isadora. So, like you said, fear not, because Fernando is here to shed light on the Latin American industry.
I need a T-shirt with that.
Yeah. I have to register that the IP for that.
Oh, that was silky smooth. I'll give you that one. So, Lou, we'll start with you on this one. So, this year, Chile banned sponsorship deals between football teams and sportsbooks, but kind of at the same time, it also continued discussing some measures that would legalise and regulate sports betting. Just for clarity for the listeners and kind of myself, because I'm a bit confused, what's the current situation at the moment in Chile?
Well, as you mentioned, they banned sponsorship deals recently, so Chile has been walking a different path when compared to other South American countries. But despite this ban, back at the end of May, an economic commission from the Chamber of Deputies voted in favor of a project that actually regulates online betting. That project is still alive, but this doesn't mean that it's enforced or anything like that. Actually, the project still faces many discussions and votes, so it could die before it even reaches the full Chamber of Deputies. But it is a sharp change from what we were seeing with this sponsorship ban. And now there's been some issues with advertising that don't seem like they're gonna end anytime soon. In Latin America or South America, these things are normal because we're used to seeing there's a lot of progress here, but then something happens and you're like, is this ever gonna happen or not? But as we've mentioned before, it's just worth reminding everyone that online betting already exists in Chile. You can access those websites, but it's not regulated. So it's just the government that it's not getting money out of it, and it's players that are not protected. So it's happening. They need to find a way to regulate it as soon as possible.
Yeah, and it's a bit frustrating how fast they actually voted for the sponsorship ban. Like that bill sailed through Congress and they passed it right away. But then when discussing regulation, when actually discussing what will provide an extra revenue source and more clarity to both the gaming industry and the people using it, they are still stalling, and they are discussing and adding different things, and they are missing out on what they have projecting themselves, that is between $50 to $80 million in revenue a year, and that amount can be doubled within 5 years when and if regulation gets enforced. I think it will eventually be enforced, but then again, I think it's really frustrating how quickly they passed the prohibitive bill, but not the regulatory bill.
Mm-hmm. And Fernando, we'll stick with you. Can you just tell us what's been going on with the National Association of Professional Football?
Yeah, well, the ANFP, as it's called in Spanish, they had this they signed this major sponsorship deal with a major sports betting operator. It's definitely a legit company. It is licensed in several European countries. It's licensed in several Latin American jurisdictions as well. But like other deals that have been enforced in Chilean football, it has drawn some criticism in the country because the Chilean regulator has repeatedly stated that sports betting is an illegal activity. But then the ANFP, they think otherwise. They spoke before the Ministry of Justice, and they clearly said, okay, we think that this activity is not forbidden. So it is not legalized. It is not authorized explicitly, if that's a word.
Explicitly.
Yeah, but
you got it right.
Yeah, thanks for that. I need my gold star for that. But then going back to what I was saying, the ANFP said, okay, it is not forbidden. Even if it's not legalized, it is not forbidden. So we can, and we have signed this deal with this major sports betting operator. After that deal was signed, this is an older deal, but it was renewed in January this year. And after that, land-based operators and organizations that include land-based operators criticize both the ANFP, they criticize iGaming companies which are operating in the country, and there has been an investigation regarding in regards with the deal that involves specifically the ANFP, the football regulator in Chile, or the football governing body. So there has been an investigation involving the Ministry of Justice, which is why the ANFP spoke before them and said, okay, this is not forbidden. This is not forbidden. But the Minister of Justice, Luis Cordero, he said that he explained, okay, we have this ongoing investigation and we will wait to see which conclusions we arrive to. But then again, he was not very clear about the segment itself. Like he said, I don't think it's legal. It's when he was asked if it was legal or not, he says, there's a big debate around that. Some say it is, some say it is not. That was his answer. So we definitely need more clarity in iGaming and sports betting in Chile, because this investigation could even turn out to cause the ANFP to lose its juridical personality if they consider this to be an illegal agreement.
I think we need more of Fernando's comical impressions, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
I like that. That was good.
I'll charge you double for that.
Oh, bro. You can't charge me double. I should be getting it free. Let's go full circle, though. Let's go back to Brazil. That's where we started. And kind of Fernando and Lou for this next question.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's, how best to put it? Because it was a subject which it has kind of different issues around match fixing, because Brazil's had quite a few cases recently. Fernando, have you seen any reports about that in Chile lately regarding kind of match fixing?
Well, we can talk about what the IBIA has reported, which is only 2 suspicious alerts reported in Chile, which involve tennis, actually, nothing about football. But there has not been any significant cases like there has been in Brazil or in other neighboring countries, or at least the authorities have not discovered them yet. But I think that the current state of the industry is definitely not helpful for that. It's because you can only supervise at some extent the industry and sports, because these companies are operating from abroad and without any specific rules for their operation. And you have these respected, these legit operators that are in the country, like the one that has the deal with the ANFP. But then there is some unlawful, let's say, operators that may be involved in criminal activities. So Chile definitely needs to enforce a proper regulatory framework as soon as possible, not only to start getting that tax money, but also to better control what's going on with this type of cases, which, again, there hasn't been any significant or any major fraud scheme discovered yet, but there might be in the future, and you need to have the proper rules to prevent that and to act, of course, after if it were to happen.
Yeah, just to continue what he said, and going back to what I mentioned about this bill that actually regulates online gaming, there's some representatives trying to create a commission to investigate potential benefits or issues that would come up from this relationship between sportsbook and sports teams. And to finish this up, I have a quote here from the ANFP, which I think it's accurate. They said that there's a need for the Congress to start a legislative process to regulate online sports betting. And they said it's happening in Chile and around the world for over a decade. like they said, this is already happening, and the only one not benefiting from it is the government, and the people who the government should be focusing on like are betting without any type of protection. So yeah, it seems like they got their priorities mixed up.
Cool. And just to round things off, Lou and Fernando, because I gave Isadora, I've got 30 seconds to pitch a feature that's on Not to See Us Brazil. Do you want to pitch any features that you've got on Not to See Us that I can put in the link below?
Oh, no, there's so many actually. Well, recently we published one with Betson and Racing Club from Argentina about the sponsorship deal that they signed. You can go check it out on SBC Noticias, but it's really good. This one is from Lugando, so make sure to check it out. But we have a lot of features that we published recently, so yay.
Cool. I'll put that link in the description below, and the listeners can click through that link onto the website and then explore all the other features that you have to offer. Apart from that, Lou, Fernando, thank you for joining us today on iGaming Daily, and also thank you to Isadora, who's now left us, for joining us as well. And to the listeners out there, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of iGaming Daily, brought to you in conjunction with SBC Summit Latino America, being held at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Miami on the 31st of October to the 2nd of November. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News Network. Happy reading.